This next section is going to be about 4 or 5 short stories. I'm Denise Fuller, and I am reading from my first self published book titled Poetry and Prose, My Words in No Particular Order. My blog name is A Free Spirit Butterfly. If you would like to Google me and see how my journey began. If the timing had been different. When I stare at him, I can actually picture us being happy, comfortable, and content, not letting the outside world get to us or the stresses of the job put up walls in our family life, and being one of those couples that people actually envy. Our kids would constantly tease us for always showing affection in public, and their friends would always want to spend time at our house. They'd say, "Your parents are so cool." We would take family vacations twice a year, and then there would be those occasions when we would have grown up time. The kids would be gone for the summer, rotating between camp and grandma's house, and we would live freely like two teenagers without a care in the world. We would make love every day and sometimes twice a day. We would forget to eat and clean up and just lay back, laugh, and play hooky from work. The days of standing on the platform, waiting on the metro as though we were strangers, would be a thing of the past. No more intermittent eye contact and unspoken words. No more daydreaming of what could be. But then reality sets in, and I open my eyes to see that if the timing had been different, maybe he would have bumped into me and said, "Excuse me," and kept on walking. Our wedding day. When the telephone rang, I was surprised to hear that it was Michael. Caught up with the many tasks ahead, he was the last person that I had expected to hear from. The sound of his voice was different, nervous and low. Not his usual strong and confident tone that I loved so much. He said that he needed to talk to me and that he was on his way over. Before I could ask questions, he had hung up the telephone. What could be so important with the wedding only 5 hours away? Was he having second thoughts? Did he regret asking me to be his wife? Did something go wrong during our last night's dinner rehearsal? He seemed happier than I'd ever seen him before, and his family simply adores me. My mind was in a tailspin, and I had no control over my thoughts. I immediately ran into the bathroom. To say that I had felt butterflies would have been an understatement. It was as if I had suffered food poisoning and the symptoms were rapidly kicking in. Before I had realized that he was at the door, I knew that it had to be serious because he did not use his key. Just before I let him in, I paused at the mirror in the foyer to check my appearance. I quickly told myself to put on your happy face because nothing was going to ruin our wedding day. When I opened the door, he brushed right past me. No greeting, no hug, and certainly no indication that this was the happiest day of his life. "Baby, what is it?" I asked. For a moment, he couldn't look at me. He just reached for my hand and led me to the sofa, the one we had spent countless hours on, getting to know one another and eventually planning our future. He held his head down, cleared his throat, and said, "I need to tell you something, and there is no easy way to say it." Before he could go on, I took a deep breath and told him that I loved him with all my heart. I assured him that we were getting married in less than 5 hours, and nothing he could say would change that. He looked into my eyes, and as a tear rolled down his cheek, he said, "I never got the divorce. Lisa and I are still married." What the? He called to say he was just around the corner and that he had something for me. The call caught me completely by surprise. He's never called me at work. Luckily, I had just finished my staff meeting, and the to-do list was longer than the pencil that I had used to write it with. I was a little agitated that he was so close, but anxious at the same time. After our disagreement last night, I was so hoping that what he had would not draw attention to me, while a small part of me had hoped it was something so extravagant that everyone would be like, "Wow, who gave you that?" He texted me when he pulled in front of the office. I waited a few moments before gracefully walking out to meet him. Lucky for me, I was wearing my gorgeous brown suit with the split in the back, and I hadn't had time to switch from my tan pumps to my comfy office shoes, which gave me a little confidence as I calmly walked to his car. I pretended to smile as he glanced up at me,